Hello and welcome to the Ebbenflow podcast, episode 31. Today, we're talking about paid time off or PTO. I wanted to talk about PTO because it's something that's very real in the corporate world, and I don't know who else is talking about PTO. Probably people on Twitter, and I'm not sure, but just wanted to bring this topic to light because it's something that a lot of us deal with, have. Luckily, PTO is a thing, and when you're in school, you don't have that. Well, one, because you're not getting paid to go to school, and two, you could just take a day off at school, but you would miss out on some classes, or, at least for me, I was studying for computer engineering, and it was really hard for me to take off for multiple days at a time. If anything, you could maybe take off for a day here, but I had labs that I couldn't miss, once a week. And if you missed a lab, it's really hard to catch up. So it's just not really, it's not even the concept of it. I wasn't even thinking about it in school. But once I got to work, I knew that that was a thing, in that I could take off for a week whenever. It didn't just have to be the summer, growing up, you're like, oh, every summer, yeah, you get 3 months off. And eventually, once I got to high school, I never really had off, because I was working a job. So it was just kind of all year round, just kind of going, working either at school or at work. But my first job, I didn't get any PTO because I was I was doing slightly above minimum wage work at a college, and I was hourly. So if I went on vacation, I could go on vacation. I wouldn't get paid that week. So simple as that. I was just doing maintenance and painting, so it wasn't anything was, nothing was dependent on me. We had a team of 8 or 10 of the summer help. That's what it was called, just seasonal help. And yeah, so I would still go on vacations with my family, but it would just be not paid. So yeah, when I got my first big boy job, in my offer letter, they put, you have 15 days of PTO. And I was like, whoa. First of all, I wasn't sure if that was a lot or a little, because I didn't know anything about the corporate world. And then come to find out that 15 days is essentially 3 weeks, because a business week is 5 days. And a lot of people, I think, start with 10 days of PTO, which is 2 weeks. That's how the majority of what I've heard is, that's what it is. So I guess it was a really good start, because, and I thought for a second, when I first got my job, that 15 days meant 15 normal days. So if I wanted to take a week off, I would have to use 7 days. And I was like, wow, so I only get 2 weeks plus 1 day. I didn't know that the weekend doesn't count as a working day. So you could take off you could only use 5 days, and you would get essentially 9 days off because of the 2 weekends that sandwiched that 5 days of PTO. So it's 3 weeks a year. And people think, oh, I use PTO for vacation. So you could think, oh wow, I get 3 weeks of vacation a year. And when I think of vacation, I think of like traveling around, or like, yeah, just doing something that I can get away for a little bit. And I wasn't sure if that was a lot of, is it normal to take 3 weeks of vacation? But again, in my beginner's mind of just beginning starting a corporate job and having no experience, you don't just use PTO for vacation. Like if you have a doctor's appointment or something for a day, you could use it for that day. But hopefully you have some flexibility with your employer in that you don't have to take a full day off if you have an appointment. You can just request. I mean, you'll just leave the office for like an hour or two, and then you can make it up at any other time throughout the week. Now, if you're salaried, let's say you just take 2 hours to go to an appointment, then you could just work another 2 hours at any other time throughout the week to make up for it. And I guess you could do the same if you're hourly. But yeah, so the concept of it is awesome. PTO, like, whoa, I'm getting paid this like corporate salary for, and I don't even have to go to work, and I just get paid to do whatever I'm doing that day. Like, that's so cool. That's, coming from a job where I had unpaid leave, now I have paid leave. That was just mind blowing. So I definitely remember, I think I took my first trip a couple months into my first job, and I was just like, wow, like I'm on the beach and I'm getting paid to do it. Like, that's so cool. So PTO I would say it was less stressful when I just started working. Just the idea of it and stuff. But I would say now I have, this is almost 7 years after I'm starting to work. I have more responsibility, as that tends to go with anyone working a corporate job. The longer you work there, the more responsibilities you get, and it's just a little bit more complex to cover the logistics of PTO, because you need to find someone who's willing to cover your work while you're gone, because maybe you're the lead on a project, or maybe you're a project manager. Like, there's certain aspects of your job that kind of depend on you, or they absolutely do depend on you, and it's like really hard to step away from that, which is like, it's really silly, kind of, that society has ingrained the importance of work in our life so deeply, in that people get stressful. You get stressed about taking PTO because maybe you don't want to be seen as a problem worker. Someone who's like, oh, I'm taking off, so someone's got to step in and carry the burden for me. I would say recently I do get nervous and I get insecure about taking PTO, because I am putting something on I'm putting responsibilities on someone else's plate, and I think, oh, everyone else is really busy. They, it's just going to be extra, they're going to not like it because, I didn't sign up for this. Like, this is not my project. But you did sign up for being in corporate by choosing to be employed by this company. So people are going to take off. You're going to have to cover for them. And, I recently I did cover for somebody because they were out. I worked on a Saturday. And it sucks. You want your weekend, but I wasn't doing anything, luckily, that weekend, and I was available, so I think it was fine. If it's every once in a while for me, like, it's not a problem, but if it were to be like you're working every Saturday, they cover for people, well, maybe we can talk about that and mitigate that, because I have a life outside of work. And I think this is another, kind of big topic is, do you live to work or do you work to live? In that, if you live to work, you prioritize work over everything else in your life. Some people don't use all their PTO. I remember reading a statistic that it's something like half of Americans don't use any PTO or something throughout the year, and that's ridiculous. I mean, if you really like your job and you don't see, maybe some people don't take PTO because they wouldn't know what to do with their time. All they know is their job. And if they weren't doing anything, then they couldn't stand that. And they would be really uncomfortable with not working. So all they want to do is work. And if you're really into that, that's fine. But this podcast episode probably won't resonate with you. But if you're somebody who sees work as a way to fund other aspects, other things that you enjoy in life, then maybe keep listening. Because I'm in that boat, I would say, where I know that work is just a means to fund other things in my life that I am interested in, that bring meaning to me in more ways than work does. Work brings meaning to me in the way that it does provide my finances, and luckily for me, I really enjoy my job. I find it intellectually challenging and stimulating. A lot of the corporate red tape and bullshit that you deal with, it kind of sucks when you're dealing with it in the moment, but you learn about other people and how they operate in a corporate environment and how to mitigate people's emotions, and you learn how to deal with people and how they see work. Some people that you work with are see work as different. And I've had that experience where people will take PTO, they'll be on their trip, but you'll see that they're online. They're pretty much every day checking their phone. And if you are in a position where you have a lot of responsibility and you need to check it, I guess that's one thing. But it's just kind of sad that you can't fully disconnect from work. You're still tied down. You may be in the Bahamas or whatever, but you're still thinking about that project back home. It just doesn't sound that freeing. Doesn't sound like freedom from your work. And yeah, you could say, well, what I do is funding this Bahamas trip. And that's true. But can't you also be unavailable during that time? I mean, what percentage of the year, what percentage of your life are you giving to somebody else, which is the company? It's probably a lot. If you do, 40 hours a week is a lot of to give your time. It's a lot of time and energy spent towards doing something that you maybe are not fully aligned with. And a lot of people don't want to go down the entrepreneurship path because it's volatile, it's unstable, it's not steady to be an entrepreneur, because you could go like months and months without making a profit. And it's all on you to be an entrepreneur. Like, there's a lot of stresses that come with being the only person in your company. Like, for example, we're kind of deviating from PTO a little bit, but I have my own business, and I've never made a profit on it. I started it in 2023 or 2024. Yeah, 2 years ago. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool venture. It's a cool thing to do. Forming an LLC and getting the EIN and then opening a bank account. It's cool. And then you're filing taxes for that business every year. But at one point I decided I wasn't going to continue developing my business, and I was just going to focus on my day job, because my day job does provide a lot of stability and steady income. So I figured I'm going to focus on that. And I have not regretted that decision. Like I said earlier, I really do enjoy my job, especially because I'm remote, and remote work is for me. A lot of people like to have that interaction in the office. I did that for about 4.5 years, realized it's not for me. There's upsides and downsides to remote work. That can be a whole nother episode later. I definitely would love to do an episode on remote work. But yeah, in terms of maybe circle back to PTO. Yeah, I mean, I just think about the people who don't take any. It's kind of sad. Like, you really don't have anything else to do other than work. There's just like, I went to Yosemite National Park last weekend, and just being in that environment, in nature, really grand views and trees and just amazingness, really far away from any major metropolis. It's like all that shit is happening when you work. Like, you're in the office. Everything in Yosemite National Park is doing its thing as well, and you're moving. When you're in the office, you're moving at a certain pace. You don't even have to be in the office when you're working. In corporate America, you are at a certain pace in life. You have a routine. You probably like it, maybe. But going to Yosemite, it's like nature is on a completely different pace than you. You're walking through the woods. You're like, these trees are not doing 9 to 5s. They're not. They don't have to request PTO. They don't have to get PTO approved. there's no such thing between paid time off and paid time on. I mean, they don't get paid to do anything. They just are what they are. And for us humans, we do have to get paid because we do have specializations in the economy. We don't use barter anymore. We're not farmers, or, well, we are farmers, but there's a large majority of us that are not. So what we had to do is come up with a currency that allows us to specialize in one area, receive currency for putting in value to that area so we can spend it in other areas that other people specialize in, because it gives us more freedom in life. You know, we don't have to worry about gathering food. We can just go to the store and give them our dollars and they give us food, like, so we can focus on what we need to focus on. And it's really interesting that that's how society is playing out. But oh god, and then like things could change too with AI as well, displacing jobs, coming for pretty much, you know, anything that a human can do on a computer, and AI is also doing, and will get better, and is probably already better than most humans can do. But there's, you know, still gotta take some time for AI to like completely take over digital jobs, and we don't even know what that's gonna look like. I don't even know if that's gonna happen. But what will happen to those whose jobs are displaced? When the Industrial Revolution happened, people could move away from their farms, work in the factories, and, you know, start cities and start suburbs. And then when factory jobs got automated, people moved to the office so they could work on, you know, Excel spreadsheets and more pencil pushing, and then into typing on a computer. And then now jobs on a computer are being replaced. So where do you go? Probably this kind of goes back to being an entrepreneur. People don't know what to do for being an entrepreneur. But, you know, they don't know marketing. They don't know any ideas or any challenges that need to be solved. But obviously, you know, what can help with that is AI. And just a little self-reflection, like what challenges do I have in life and how can they be solved? Just kind of think that through. Do you want to solve it with traditional methods? Like maybe you want to be a nutrition coach or something. You've always been interested in doing that. Do you want to come up with a business plan yourself, or do you engage AI and ask it? You say to the AI like, "Hey, I'm interested in being a nutritional coach. I want to start a business for it. Can you help me?" It would be really good at that. And then it's a matter of, do you want to be a faceless business where you don't talk about, you know, unfortunately, like posting content is kind of the only way to get your business out there. So do you want your face to be on the content, or do you want it to be faceless? If you want it to be faceless, then you would have to probably engage more AI to generate video for you. And you can make it automated and faster with AI, but then you kind of are pushing like AI slop onto the internet, and there's like already too much of that. I feel like it's saturated. So I think people are going to be looking for people who are genuine, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Like, I had no plans about what I was going to talk. I knew I was going to talk about PTO, but I didn't know where it was going to go. I feel like I only talked about PTO for maybe like 10 minutes, and the majority of this episode is not really about PTO, but it's it's just where I decided for it to go. So maybe I will name this episode like PTO and work life, kind of. But I've only focused on, I mean, I've hit a bunch of topics, but I could talk about work for a long time because it's part of my like everyday experience. It takes up a majority of my time. So, and it's difficult because do I keep talking about what I'm talking about or do I change the subject? You know, it's like, see, now this is like just going into authenticity. This is maybe you crave this. Maybe you think I'm being retarded right now. And I'm like, you know, dude, you've completely lost the plot. I probably have. So, you know what? I'm just going to end it. I'm just going to end it right here. And, hopefully you got some sort of, value out of this. And, if you did, that's great. I'm still enjoying my day job, but if you want to engage on me, with, anything discussed here, glad to talk about it. But, yeah, I still enjoy making podcasts for sure. So we'll make more episodes, in the future. And I just wanted to get in front of the camera and kind of spout off some stuff. That's what my podcast is. So, that's it. Bye.